Could the next Denver Broncos move be right underneath their noses? The answer, a little bit nebulous right now. That's why we're going to break it down on today's episode of the Broncos Breakdown, presented by Prize Picks. Welcome into the show. My name is Moose. Jack Plummer. Who is he and why is his name continuously being circulated in Broncos media and content creator circles? Well, it's no joke and no secret that he has caught the attention of a few of our Broncos content creators. More on that coming up later on in today's episode. But Jack Plummer is the UFL MVP for the 2026 season. So naturally, we're going to talk about the quarterback position. And right now, Bo Nix is your QB1. Jarrett Stidham still, although very loosely, I might add, is hanging on to that QB2 spot. And Sam Ehlinger rides in as your QB3. The question, though, that I want to ask is, does Plummer deserve a tryout? Now, I'm sure you're seeing the name, and you're probably thinking the same thing that I thought. Is he related to Jake the Snake? And the answer to that is no. There's actually no relation. So it's not a legacy, a Broncos, coming home, or a sort of trip down memory lane. It's nothing like that. But I'll tell you what it is like. It is like this. The Broncos bosses, my bosses, that is, came to me and they said, you got to hit 20 subs on today's video. So I'm issuing the challenge to you, Broncos country. If you could, smash that subscribe button for more Denver Broncos content all year long, including watch parties, including daily videos, and including sweet giveaways that you can get for free by hitting that subscribe button. All right, so some Broncos shout-outs that I promised in the last episode. Shout-out to Perk RNs, Dave. Shout-out to Conquistador, hilarious name, by the way. Shout-out to Eric Kennedy, RW Dog, Leadhead, Zayden, Salt of Solomon, Rob, and Samantha Johnson. All of you are real ones. Diehard Denver Broncos fans that are watching even in the lowest point of the offseason where content gets a little iffy. So shout out to you. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the content. Who is Jack Plummer? He is a quarterback for the Orlando Storm, formerly from Louisville, undrafted free agent, signed with the Panthers briefly a couple years ago and got cut basically immediately. But he comes in at 6'5", 215 pounds. He's a pocket passer who displays dips based off of his pressure when faced. So clearly his performance is predicated on his offensive line. Now, that's a pretty common thing for a young player to go through, especially a quarterback that does not make a living off of his athletic ability, although that certainly has gotten better and been on more display since he's been in the UFL. He's a touch thrower with good placement from a clean pocket. I will say that. When he's got a clean pocket, he can deliver on time, on target, with fairly good accuracy. There's a lot to like there. In fact, his head coach, Anthony Becht, said this about the MVP of the UFL. They played 10 games, by the way. Jack personifies exactly what an elite UFL quarterback, whatever that means, should look like. His leadership, his ability to process information, and his ability to make plays on a moment's notice made him the most valuable player in the UFL. I shouldn't have such cross things to say about the UFL. There are some really good players that come out of it. Honestly, Dondre Tillman and Hakeem Butler seem like players that will make an impact for the Broncos this year. So I don't want to discredit anybody that comes from the UFL. But here's the stats from his MVP season. 65% completion percentage, 2,100 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, only one pick, a 17-to-1 INT or touchdown to INT ratio. That's pretty impressive, and a passer rating of 104.1. I also found out that he holds a UFL record for most passing attempts without an interception, 255. There's a lot to like about this prospect. Am I saying that he's going to end up challenging Bo Nix for his job? No. Will he challenge Sam Ehlinger for his job as QB, potentially QB2, or Jarrett Stidham? Probably not, but in the event that you wanted to move off of a guy like Jarrett Stidham, could you bring in another player for a tryout to get to that QB3 spot? Why not? You wouldn't pay him hardly anything. what, $1 million vet minimum, maybe even less than that? We'll continue exploring this option coming up here in just a moment. Before I get to that, though, I do have to keep the lights on, tell you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Look, I didn't win again. Actually, I'm halfway through a lineup right now, so scratch that. I'm doing okay right now. But I'm playing every single day, and I'm watching the soccer championships. It's a whole lot of fun. And if you want to play just like me, win real cash while watching sports, it's not just soccer. It's baseball, hockey, golf. Football is right around the corner. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Now, JD cooked up something just for you guys. A new feature, Team Picks, that Prize Picks is offering. You can just straight up make the pick on who you think is going to win. So I went Switzerland, I went Bosnia, I went Brazil. But obviously, yours doesn't have to look like this. It can if you want. You can use the new social feeds feature and copy this lineup in a single click. All you got to do, though, is download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. So some other notes about Jack Plummer. I almost said Jake Plummer there. That's going back all the way back to the early 2000s. Plummer experiences and displays pocket awareness that has definitely improved since he came out of Louisville. Better than average scrambling ability. In fact, a couple of highlight plays from the UFL were scrambles of his, where he ended up breaking off huge chunk yardages of 30-plus yards in order to secure better field position, and he's certainly gotten better in his field progression. Like going through each progression, letting the game come naturally as he's deciding where to deliver the football. That's gotten better. So clearly his time in the UFL has not made him a worse quarterback. It's made him a better one. So this could be, and I put air quotes around could be because it's a very light could be. This could be your next quarterback, your QB3. Is it worth a tryout? Probably, yes. I don't want to say sign the guy. No, you got to bring him in, right? Because right now, you still got 3 QBs on the depth chart. And I don't want this to become a bash Stiddy thing. Like, obviously, Stidham's better than him right now. But in the event that the Broncos find more value moving off of Jarrett Stidham, saving some money towards the cap, then you could have this player just rest on the practice squad and in a pinch could get called up on a 53-man roster elevation. By the way, shout out to my guy Cornbread. Remember when I told you more Broncos creators are going to get on this? Shout out to Cornbread, who is a fan of the show. Bringing Plummer in would create real competition, he says, in training camp. Give the Broncos a legitimate QB3 with starting potential and cost almost nothing in draft capital or salary cap. That's very well said. That's very true. Now, other Broncos content creators, yes, I'm putting you on blast there, David Talks Broncos. He's a friend of mine. It's okay. It's all in good fun. He says, the next Kurt Warner? Well, let's pump the brakes there, David boy. But I don't want to go that far, right? That is a little extreme to me. Here's what I will say. There's certainly a reclamation project there that the Broncos could explore. And if Peyton is like, hey, we decided we wanted to move off of Jarrett Stidham, or Sam Ehlinger takes a spot somewhere else, then we still need another quarterback to sit on the practice squad. You can't just have 2. You have to have another one that is waiting in the wings. Break in case of emergency. That could be your guy, Jack Plummer. But I'll leave it up to you. Should the Broncos give Jack Plummer a tryout? Yes or no? Why not? It's the offseason. We're halfway between minicamp and training camp. This could be a training camp bring in. And then, honestly, if you really wanted to, move off of Stiddy, have him showcase what he's able to do in the preseason. Nothing like that hurts at all. But you let me know down in the comment section down below. Let's get to more news, because that's more of a rumor, right? A name that's been, kind of circulating. It's time for the circulator. It's time for the circulator. JD's laughing at it. He's dancing along. Let's move on to some more concrete stuff. Marvin Mims. He was in an exclusive with Zach Stevens, and Zach Stevens had basically just kind of like a one-on-one interview with him. And Mims said it would be sweet to get a contract extension from the Broncos in the coming months. But, and this is important, he knows the team can't keep everybody. In fact, Here's what he said about his full time with the Denver Broncos. If this is my last year, I'm looking forward to it with these guys because I've had great times here in Denver over the past 3 years. We'll see what happens. Okay, that might sound cryptic. That might sound ominous. That might sound like, oh, we're going to lose Marvin Mims. Take a deep breath. I believe an extension is coming. I do. I've talked to people that I trust surrounding the situation, that know people that know the Broncos. I believe this is coming soon, just like a Jaquan McMillan extension. I don't think the Broncos want to give up on Marvin Mims. I think they see him in their future plans, and the reason for that is because he's got so much untapped potential as a wide receiver. Just look at the stats last year. There is something there that is waiting to happen. This isn't a down year where his usage rate was almost at the very bottom of the depth chart. In fact, there was almost 0 targets for Marvin Mims in intermediate routes. Well, Moose, that just means he can't run those intermediate routes. I completely disagree with you. Look at how he was able to target on the deep routes, 26.2%. That's 1 out of 4, basically. Behind the line of scrimmage in the screen game, yes, he still got that. We'll talk a little bit more on that in a little bit. 41.5%. But the medium routes, 6.2%. Despite all of this, he believes that bringing in Jalen Waddle opens up the game for him tremendously. I completely agree with that sentiment. Jalen Waddle is a compound multiplier. He will make the game easier for all the players around him because he is such a commanding presence on the field. So I started thinking about it, and I went back and forth with my buddy Bossman Jay. You guys know Bossman Jay. And we kind of went back and forth and disagreed a little bit on how we view Mims' next role. My view is that Mims can take on a new type of role in a player that I haven't really comped him to before. It's not a direct comparison, so don't get it twisted. It's not a similar play style, but maybe like a mini Debo role. Oh, Moose, they're completely different players. Yes, allow me to explain. Debo Samuel is a player that thrives with the ball in his hand, just like Marvin Mims. And he's a very easy, schemable player, which I believe Marvin Mims can be. If you don't believe me, last year, opening script plays, he had 30 over the course of the season. That's a little more than 2 a game. So on the opening drive, there were at least 2 plays drawn up every single drive for Debo Samuel. I believe the exact same thing can be said about Marvin Mims. But a little bit more on Debo for a second. Strong yak ability, right? Yards after catch. Marvin has that. He's a power runner with the ball in his hand. Marvin is not a power runner. He's more of a speed and agility runner. And he's got good field vision, just like Marvin Mims does. He wouldn't be an all-pro returner if he didn't have good field position or good field vision. So the only difference between the two right now is honestly the build and then, of course, the style of running with the football. But despite that, Debo Samuel has carved out an excellent role for himself wherever he's gone, whether that be San Francisco or Washington. Did you know that he's had more rushing touchdowns than players like Nick Chubb or Kenneth Walker since 2021 from outside the 10-yard line? Meaning what? He can break away and score 6 with the best of them. So what do you do if you're the Broncos? Put the ball in Marvin Mims' hands quicker. Well, Moose, you just said he's not as big as Debo, so he can't play as a tailback. You're right. He can't. So what do? You use him more as a motion man. This is something the Broncos rarely did last year. Here's just one option, a little jet sweep, right? This is a jet motion play. Marvin would obviously be your H wide receiver in this case, or your H back, and he'd completely cut across in front of the quarterback, and he could take a direct snap. He could take a shovel pass. He could take a touch pass from Bo Nix. He could take a swing pass, an arrow route out in the flat. Or let's move on to this one. How about the behind motion play? Now, this could turn into so many different possibilities. This opens up a completely new world for Marvin Mims. His ability to move across the line, deceive the opponent's cornerbacks, the safeties, the outside linebackers, their big nickels. Be someone that confuses the defense. There's different routes that come with all of this. How about the jet sweep, like I mentioned? The touch pass, like I mentioned. There's also a wheel route that you could implement here, cutting up that sideline, a screen pass, which we know he's already good at. That's just 4 right there that I mentioned. That doesn't even mention all the other ones, like an out route or a stick route or a hitch route. There's plenty of different ways that Marvin Mims can get involved. And for those of you who are like, well, why didn't the Broncos just do this last year? That's not how Sean Payton operated as a play caller. Take a look at the chart that I found. Rate of pre-snap motion versus motion at the snap. Now, I realize this is just weeks 1 through 4 in the 2025 season, but take a look at how bad that was last year. They were last, dead last, at the very bottom left in motion rate. Now, that got a little bit higher as the season went along, but they finished 31st most motion in the National Football League. Mims is perfect for motion because of his burst, because of his quickness, because of his feet, because of his ability to get off the line of scrimmage better than most other corners. So you mean to tell me the thing that he would excel the most at, the Broncos barely did? That sounds exactly like what we've been saying. They didn't use him right. So you do this, Marvin Mims becomes an automatic X factor in your offense. Mic drop. That's how we're going to leave it. Do me a favor. The bosses said 20 subs today. So if you love what we're doing and you want more doing it, hit that subscribe button. All right, Broncos country. That's all I got for you. Quick little mile high salute to end today's episode. Be cool.